So let's talk now about some crew psychology. Talk about compatibility, so what things needed for a crew to be compatible, crew interpersonal issues, cultural and interpersonal communications, and emotional problems from analog studies. Okay, so here are some important personality factors that affect compatibility. We have, so these are all things that affect whether you can be compatible with other people, or how well you can be compatible with other people. Okay, first of all, the homogeneity of personality traits. So crew members that have higher or similar levels of agreeableness and conscientiousness tend to get along better. Complementarity needs. So crew members have different needs that complement each other. So dominant versus submissiveness, for instance. Congruent needs. Crew members have similar needs that can be mutually satisfied. Affiliation, autonomy, or achievement. Shared interests. The extent to which crew members share common interests. Shared values and norms. The extent to which crew members share a common system of values, beliefs, and behavioral norms. Emotional attitude towards each other. The extent to which crew members like and respect one another. And finally, common language. The extent to which crew members are able to express their own feelings and thoughts appropriately in their common language. So, out of these, which ones do you think are the most hardest to achieve, say, on the International Space Station?
Language.
Yeah, so language.
Complementary needs.
Complementary needs, yeah, because culture can affect that. What else?
Shared values and norms.
Yeah, shared values and norms. So you have people from all over the world who are going to have different norms. You certainly might get a lot of shared interest, right? Because everyone wants to be an astronaut, everyone's there in space, everyone is pretty much a scientist. But you can see here that we're currently constructing some of the ISS crews without fully looking at what compatibility factors are needed to make that crew successful. Okay. Having crews of different languages certainly can make things harder.
So this isn't in order of.
It's not in order of what comes first, but these are just a list of personality factors that affect compatibility. So let's look at how some interpersonal issues can affect your situation, or what certain personality issues will cause on a mission. Okay. So the first issue, interpersonal issue, is crew heterogeneity due to gender, cultural differences, career motivation, experiences, and personality. Okay. So just a measure of how similar or different the crew is based on gender, culture, etc. So if you have a lot of homogeneity, a lot of heterogeneity, so the crew is very, very different, you can get inter-crew tension. You can get scapegoating, meaning you're blaming someone else for something that happened to you, something you're responsible for, and a long life phenomenon.
What's that?
I meant to look that up. So you can get those particular harmful squall. Changes in cohesion over time. Okay, if you change in cohesion over time, you can get withdrawal and territorial behavior or subgrouping. Languages and dialectic variations, you can get crew miscommunication. So one of the main things, different languages, get miscommunication. Crew size. Small crews of, you might have heard this before, 2 or 3 people are problematic, and larger crews of 6 or 7 can lead to minority isolation. Oh, sorry, small crews of 2 or 3 people are more problematic, larger crews can lead to minority isolation. So if you have a crew of 3 people, okay, one person might feel left out, emotionally isolated, and that might cause some problems. Odd number crews that are larger than 3 people can more easily achieve consensus than even number crews. Okay, and you can think about just voting on things. Leadership roles, task versus supportive. So some of the negative things that can happen with leadership roles are you get leadership role confusion. There was an interesting situation on Skylab where the commander actually had less experience than the other person that was with him. So he's the commander who's supposed to be making the decisions, but the other guy's got way more experience. So basically at the end, they just decided to do some status leveling. They decided to share the decision-making authority for the mission. Ground crew interactions empathy over scheduling, autonomy, physiological closing, and displacement. So things that can happen are crew to ground miscommunications, perceived lack of support from the ground, failure to deal with intra-crew problems, and information filtration. And information filtration, you can think of was it John Glenn, who was certain the Earth didn't know he had a problem with the spacecraft, and they didn't, they said just leave your booster on, right? Because they had to just get rid of the booster before they came back. So just leave it on, and he didn't know why that they didn't do that call. This is the judgment of Cape Flight, right? So information filtration. Being at MDRS, you can kind of see some of these issues between crew to ground interactions, especially the support issue. So because you're so isolated, and because the method of communication is email, you can feel sometimes like you're isolated, feel like they don't really understand what issues are going on in the situation. So that can happen certainly in space and certainly on long duration missions.
Well, talking about odd-numbered crews, I suppose achieving consensus is a good thing, but in quite a few situations you might want to have astronauts pair off just to have some sort of buddy system going to support one another, and that's more feasible with even-numbered crews. So is there any way to kind of reconcile those two ideas?
Yeah, send one person. Yeah, it's interesting, right? You're going to have trade-offs. It's a trade-off between are you going to get more, we're talking about long duration space, are you going to get more cohesion in your team and more emotional support if you have even number of people and just pair everyone off? Or are you going to have more benefits from having more consensus through having an even number and being able to come to decisions relatively easily? So one's a support mechanism and one's like a decision-making process.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure how those two things would trade off. You probably have to do a study and measure it.
Well, the odd man would probably be put to good use in a central role. So if you have excursion teams of 2, and there's one person left over, that person should mind the shuttle or the orbital vehicle or the habitat or whatever resource it is that needs to not blow over in the Martian wind or running
And
over.
then there's some sort of problem with the air filtration system. The guy back at base is knocked out, and everyone is away.
Well, that's a pathological case. He could probably communicate between them because that's his job. So he'd be able to go help before he